and gentlemen, to a new series titled Industry and Economics Ukraine-Russia Conflict. So, before we get into this new series, we're going to give you a little backstory, a little prelude. First off, my name is Ice. I'm a web developer, videographer, what else? And an IT specialist. Like, subscribe, share if you want. So, okay. First off, I was hoping that this conflict wouldn't have happened. Just like I was hoping that the COVID-19 wouldn't have transpired to what it became. Unfortunately, it did, and unfortunately, this conflict started as well. So, we want to preface by saying we are anti-war, and we hope that the situation gets resolved and as fast and as peaceful as possible. That being said, we want to talk about where we stand on this conflict. We have a unique situation. We're not picking sides. We don't have any dog in any fight in this. We believe this is not even America's war, even though it's a proxy war, and we do understand that. This is we don't really know a whole lot about it. I mean, I'm a World War II and Cold War history buff, but that's about as, so I understand the basic, I guess, what do you call it, ethnic makeup of the situation. But as far as the modern, postmodern, Cold War, we haven't really been following it much. Another thing is we don't really want to cover. Well, okay. So the only reason we're covering this is because, we're big, strong believers in freedom of press. So we're going to give you our unique perspective on this situation. But where was I going? Anyway, oh yeah, we now that does go against our previous coverage of the COVID-19. We were actually had a we did, I guess, choose a side, if you will. We don't know anything about this conflict, but what we are so I mean what I was trying to say is okay. We don't okay, war is bad, obviously. We all know that. I don't wish war on anybody, or death or anything like that. So, but we're leaving our emotions basically at the door on this. Whether I'm sympathetic or whether Ice Enterprises is sympathetic to what's going on over there is irrelevant. The war has happened. We waited a little while because we wanted to see how everything was going to shape up before we'd get into it. And when and it's not, see, there is a reason to be emotional, especially if you believe in like prayer and the power of prayer and the power of like positive thought. Yes, of course. Plus, it does affect our behavior. I mean, if we didn't care at all, I mean, our behavior as a society would definitely, it would alter our decision making. So, I mean, like I said, we definitely care. It's just that, as far as our analysis is concerned, we want to keep our emotions out. And I'll give you an example. Look at what's going on right now. I want you to look at Fox News, which is News Corp. Look at all the milquetoast mainstream media news outlets out there. Are they similar in message? You know, what are they doing? Are they trying to get a rise out of you emotionally? You got to remember, this is a perception game, right? I mean, well, that's part of it. You know, it's not everything. But if we want to get down to the root of the cause of things, we have to keep that in mind. Just like COVID. Remember COVID? Remember how one of the biggest tactics is that they were going to use that, or that COVID was gonna the biggest motivator of behavior was gonna be your emotions, right? Same with this, okay? So what is media doing right now? What are they pushing? I'll let you decide that. I'm not gonna give out any. So before we get into this, let's be clear. We're not doing tactics. We're not doing grand strategy. We're not putting blame on anybody. We're not saying who's bad, who's good, who's evil, who's this, who's that, right? We're not getting in the ideology, the history. We're not getting into if there's Nazis in the Ukraine, or we're not getting into any of that. You know, even though tactics is tempting. I mean, we like to get into like the geography and the roads and you know, and how many. No. We're not doing any of that. Here's another thing you gotta understand. I don't like this because it's a distraction. It's a distraction away from what we should be fighting here in the U.S. In my opinion, this is not a war. Even though I understand that, you know, that is a idealistic notion of the world. That's not really how the real world operates. You know what I mean? Like, it's nice to say that we can't be completely 100% isolationists. But really, our war is here in the U.S., not over here. That being said, so another thing too is, you know, this is a distraction away from COVID. We were getting so close to, you know, completely running the tables, though we did win. You know, as far as like checking the ID, the ID, the global, what is it? The ID pass. The global, you know, well, they had the vaccine passports, mandatory vaccines. That would have ushered in a social credit score with a global ID and linked with like crypto and all that. Which, so let's be clear. In ICE Enterprises, we have a lot of we got a lot of coals in the fire. So we can't. We really. I was not even going to even touch this, but. You know, I was sitting in the, you know, I was watching some of the clips, and you know, some came to me, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna cover just this particular aspect of this conflict, right? So I really think you know, if, you know, get away from the milk toast mainstream media, the Fox, the NBC, CNN, hell, even alternative media. Ain't gonna be giving you what I'm gonna be giving you. Okay? They're talking about they're basically repeating mainstream media. Okay? Now all that is opinion. Okay? I'm not giving you my opinion. I told you. We don't have an opinion on this. So okay, you ask, okay then ICE, what are you gonna be talking about? This is what we're gonna be talking about. Follow the money. We're gonna be tracking in live time the financial, the economic, and the industrial aspect of this conflict. So this is a chart of the world stock markets. As you can see, here's Canada, here's Toronto. That's called the S&P TSX. So S&P, okay, you got the US, of course, you got the Dow, you got the S&P, you got the NASDAQ. So over here in England, they got the FTSE. That's their major stock market. France has got the CAC. Germany's got the DAX. Russia's got the RTS. China's got out of Shanghai, got the Hang Seng, the Shanghai comp. Australia's got the S&P ASX. Okay. Now, let's talk about the world's, not dealers, right? Not the world's largest arms exporters, importers, which we're going to get into that. That's going to be part of it. But manufacturers, okay? Now, this is just the first episode, so we're not going to get. I just put this together today, but so we're gonna get a chart, and we're gonna be charting a lot of the money. We're gonna, and this is the first time for me, so I've never done this. This conflict, and listen, I hope it doesn't break out to where nuclear arms are falling. I want it to end right away. I never wanted to start right away. I didn't have any preconceived notions on who was evil, who was bad, who was good, who was what. I just didn't want it to happen. It happened, and like I said, me being a believer in the freedom of press, trying to give you a unique perspective on this. So, we're going to be in this together. We're going to be doing this every Saturday. Please join me every Saturday, or look for this to happen. We're going to be charting it, which we're going to create a chart. Okay. Now, here's the interesting thing: as technology develops, as the internet develops, we can see a morphosizing of our society with technology. We see the rise of alternative media. We've seen everybody carries a cell phone with a camera, which is like live, minute-to-minute coverage of the actual scene. And that's why the whole COVID narrative fell apart. Was because that they lost control of the media and the perception, right? And now it's really interesting because you see there's hours and hours and hours of footage coming out of the Ukraine. And that's interesting. That's fascinating because what cell phone system is the UK running off of? Now, I know that delves into a little bit of strategy and a little bit of cyber warfare, but I'm personally interested. So we're going to be talking about that next weekend. But mainly, we're going to focus on stocks. We're going to be tracking, we're going to be graphing stocks, of arms manufacturers. We're going to try to track money of how, for example, the I should have brought this up beforehand. Okay, so we got reports from this comes from the World is One News out of India that Russia claims that there's American javelins and British NLAW missiles in Ukraine. Well, so how much does one of those cost to build? How much does one American Javelin cost to build, right? And we're going to be doing that. And we're not assigning blame, okay? We're not putting this is the blame, that's the blame. We're just trying to track the money in live time. That's all we're doing, okay? Now, top largest arms manufacturers companies in the world. 21. Honorable mention. Norinco, China. Unknown military sales. Now, see, China keeps their information secret, so it's hard to track arms out of China. Oh, another interesting thing to note. I want you guys to know, my followers. Small arms, right? AK-47s. There's a report comes from the Duran on YouTube that there's over 10,000 AK-47s distributed to Ukrainian civilians. So how much? Okay, now we can't. It's hard to track small arms because, like an AK-47. I mean, how many manufacturers make the AK-47 in 2022? Hundreds, right? It's not like the Cold War. But the only thing that's similar to the Cold War is, when the Cold War ended, Russia and the U.S. were one of the world's leading arms manufacturers. I want you to get out of the mindset of dealer, but manufacturer. And that's the biggest thing is a lot of countries that have big armies, right? Like North Korea or like like Iraq. You know, you'd always say like, oh, they're the fifth largest army, the fourth largest army. Well, they had to, because they couldn't manufacture, or they didn't have the capabilities, or they weren't developed enough yet at that point to where they could build their own systems from zero to from zero to completion, right? They didn't have that chain of custody, that infrastructure in place. So they had to have, once the opening rounds of any type of conflict, go, they didn't have the sustainment for a long, attrition of warfare, right? Unless it, eventually just turned into a proxy state. You have other nations feeding in weapons, but how are they affording it, right? I mean, it costs money. And that's what we're gonna figure out how Russia is paying for it, how Ukraine is paying for it, and all this and that, right? That's the whole series, basically, right? So, when you say, okay, there's a lot of people say, well, France ain't shit, right? France doesn't have to be shit because there's other leading superpowers in the world that are the shit right now. But they are very much, if they wanted to be the shit, they very much could. They're state of the art. They're modern, just like the U.S. is, when it comes to their intelligence capabilities, their electronic warfare capabilities, their cyber capabilities, their intelligence gathering capabilities, and not only that, their arms manufacturing capabilities. They can build tanks, they can build jets, they can build destroyers, they can build missiles. They're nuclear power from the top down. Okay? So it's important to keep that in mind. Okay, so let's go through the list. We went 2021, went to 20. It's Textron. It's a pretty neat looking jet, isn't it? Textron, USA. DCNS, France. So there you go, France. They got a nice little shipbuilding enterprise going on. Honeywell, USA. I read this earlier. United Shipbuildings Corporation, Russia. Let's see. A lot of Russian are state-owned, right? But still traded. Like you can buy shares, you can buy and sell shares and trade shares, but it's state-owned. So it's not privately owned. It's state-owned, but still traded on Russia's stock market. Okay, you're not going to find this traded on the Dow Jones Industrial Average, and that's key. Is that we're trying to figure out is how these nations going to manipulate their stock, because we know that exists here in the U.S. We know that the stock market is based on, as far as their their shorts and their when they sell their it's all based on algorithms. So it's real digitalized, where they have the computers really tracking the market, and they can short sell at the right moment, and make these little increment profits. And we know that there's a lot of insider trading and all that. And I mean, hell, you can look at, for example, the CARES Act, right? Remember that was like a giant bailout, and we didn't see much of the money. All that money went into the leading Forbes 500 basically, but all U.S. So all that printed money that we printed out of the central bank, boom, went into these corporations, right? And it boosts their stock value and stuff like that, right? So this is a total arms conflict right now. I mean, this is a war that broke out, and this is going to be our area, Safran, France. There's another one, France. It's not just weapons and munitions like missiles and jets and all that. It's information systems. It's electronic warfare. These are all very sophisticated, highly advanced systems. United Aircraft Corporation, Russia. Okay, UAC. Have you ever? have you ever heard of the United Aircraft Corporation before today? You know, was the UAC a household name before today? Came to the right place. Rolls-Royce, UK. Huntington Ingalls builds the carriers. You know, this is huge industry, okay? This provides jobs. This is a big part of the economy, the West's economy. Now again, we're not pointing blame. We're getting a familiar going on here. Almaz Ate. So we tried to find their stock. We couldn't find it nowhere. We're still looking, but we do know that that Almaz Ate it's state owned. Russia owns it, but it's a joint corporation, I believe. It's a combination of a whole bunch of corporations rolled into one, and it is traded on the stocks. L3 Communications, USA, Unisystems, Thales, France. There you go, France again. Thales, stock 93.35. 93.35. We couldn't get a chart going. It's hard to find for some reason. It's hard to find these stock markets charts in the U.S. I noticed. It's interesting, isn't it? Moving on. So we're going to be charting these. Okay, so remember these numbers. Okay, 93.35. Meccanica, Italy. Okay, Italy. Look at that jet. One-seater. United Technologies Corporation. Looks like they build a Chinook. EADS, Airbus Group, Europe. That must be the EU, maybe? Okay. European Aeronautic Defense and Space Company was a trans-European company which was reorganized as Airbus Group in 2014. I mean, look, we're not trying to say that this is the reasons behind what has broke out. We're not saying that, okay? We want to make that clear. We're not saying that this is the reason why, this is the sole reason behind the war. We're just we're looking under the hood. Okay? That's all we're doing. Like, there's the outside of the vehicle, which is nice and shiny and all this. You can get in and drive and whatever. We're trying to open up the hood and seeing how it's being driven. Well, we're looking at the motor. You're not going to get this on Fox News. You're not going to get this on CNN, and I don't know if there's any major alternative media channels talking about this. Okay, we're not going to show you. We're not going to get into body count. We're not going to show you horrific death scenes and all that. If you're interested in this aspect of learning, because I'm learning too. Like I said, during the Iraq War in the U.S., we as people unless you really did your own research, you couldn't get that type of information, right? So it's different now, okay? The world has changed, and the internet, there's a lot of open source. This is all open source. There's a lot of open source, independent. I'm not making any money, okay? I'm not making any money. I don't like covering war because I don't like to, capitalize in any way, shape, or form. So in my mind, I'm thinking, well, I will get views, but every video I do, I get some views. But I said, well, okay, this is important because I particularly want to learn this aspect of it. This will make me a smarter, more well-rounded person. This is what I do. I'm a journalist. I'm journalizing what's, this is current events. This is what has happened. and we're journalizing it in live time. That is what a journalist does, and that is what I'm doing. All right, this is, I'm a news person. I'm a that's one aspect of Ice Enterprises. It's not the whole thing. We like to do documentaries, and I'm working on this one right now. That's a secret. I think you're gonna like it. I've started it. I thought I was gonna have it done by tonight, but or tomorrow, but we got sidetracked. This is a giant sidetrack. I wanted to stay focused on COVID, but I'm gonna lie to you. People are getting tired of talking about COVID. It's certainly the globalists want to get off of it. Look, the White House wants to get off of it because it's been nothing but this. It's horrible PR. CNN wants to get off of it. The only people who want to stay off of it are people who are the 80 million people who didn't want to take the vaccine, and it basically exposed all the corruption. Pfizer wants to get off of it. The FDA wants to get off of it. The CDC wants to get off of it. And what would be the perfect thing to get off of it? A war. Now we're not saying that's the reason. Okay, we're just stating the facts of our reality. Okay. So we're truly unbiased, and when it comes to this particular situation right now, which is good. It's not always going to be like that, but it is, in this situation. Now we get to the big six: General Dynamics, Northrop Grumman, Raytheon. There's BAE Systems. BAE Systems out of the UK, clocking at number 3. BAE Systems trading at $35.70. Now you gotta understand, it's trading at, this is in dollars. So if you was to convert it into sterling, right? You have to do like a conversion. But this is, we're trying to just trying to get an understanding. We're gonna be monitoring the markets. Boeing number 1 or 2, and the big boy on the block, Lockheed Martin. Now Lockheed Martin stock is trading at $409. That's up, as you can see. They're all up. Let's see. BAE up. Okay, this is the 22nd of February. Notice how it's gone up. Okay, now it's trading at 35. It was at 32. It's gone up $3. Now that might not seem like a lot, but if you had had $50,000 in it, it could be whatever. Lockheed is went up from 390 up to 400. The 1 month, it's up. Okay, that's the 1 month. That's Lockheed Martin. $409. Okay. Okay. So this article, top 20 largest arms manufacturing companies in the world. That comes from The Riches. TheRiches.com. He cites his research from the SIPRI. The SIPRI is this right here. If you haven't heard it before, get familiar with it. Okay? Have you heard of the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute until today? Well, we're going to make it a household name. Stockholm International Peace Research Institute. They they track money. That's what they do in conflicts. Let's see, they got research, armament and disarmament, conflict, peace and security, peace and development, databases, SIPRI arms transfers database, mapping ATT relevant corporations and assistant activities database, arms industry database, multilateral peace operations database. So that's what they do. They track money from conflict, and that's their sole purpose. They put out publications. They got yearbooks. They got a medium. So let's see. They got a media. So we're going to be building our own graph. Yeah, I thought this was interesting. Let's take a look at the researchers. I thought it was fascinating. Abir Ahmad. I saw it. I'm trying to find what I found something earlier. Trying to find it. Yeah. Anyway, okay. So like looking at some of the researchers, and it's impressive. Dr. Vincent Bulanin, senior researcher, subject expertise, autonomous weapon systems, artificial intelligence and robotics, arms production, defense industry, cybersecurity and surveillance technologies, securitization theory and risk governance, fascinating, and international political sociology. So these guys are the fucking real deal right here. They ain't messing around. You know, do your own research. Okay. Stop following Fox News, even though I like Fox News. Okay, I mean, I'm picking on Fox News tonight, but you can listen to CNN. Brian. I gotta get on Fox News. You can listen to CNN, Brian Stetler, or you can get your information from these PhDs, Dr. Virginie Baudius, subject expertise. She's a subject matter expert, and that's what I tend to try to be when it comes to the COVID thing. We're not giving up on COVID. We're not going to get distracted. Matter of fact, when it comes to COVID, we believe we're in a stage of mop-up operations, which means that there's still some companies enforcing a mandatory vaccine on their own reconnaissance, basically. We need to work on that. We need to get all the information on what we get the ground that we gained throughout the last 2-year war that we're in, and then I think we need to just we're in cleanup and mop-up operations. We need to secure all the little loose ends. So we're not giving up on that. We're not going to stay. This is only going to take out 25% of our time, really. But anyway, let's get back to here. So we got names are tough. They're out of Europe, so they would be more closely connected to what's going on than we are. Okay. Subject expertise: peace building and peace consolidation, democratic transitions, state reform and decentralization, political parties, elections and citizenship building, UN peacekeeping operations, and UN transitions. Say researcher assistant, senior researcher, program director. Subject expertise: they're all doctors, they're all PhDs. Subject expertise: arms industry and arms production, defense industry policies, arms market trends analysis, arms export policies. So here's the deal, ladies and gentlemen. It's all open source, okay? We live in the age of the internet in 2022. We're open source. There's pros and cons between open source community and the I guess the intelligence community. Okay, there's pros and cons in them. There's pros and cons in us. All I'm doing is I'm just organizing it for you, and I'm following these people who are even better than me, right? And that's what we're gonna do. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. So that's gonna be it for this week. We're going to try to build a graph, a working graph. We're going to start charting and document. All we're doing is we're crunching data. Okay, that's all we're going to do is and try to give you and we're going to be looking at charts. We're looking at maps, trying to give you a different perspective than the milquetoast mainstream media, and dare I even say the alternative media, because we wanted to wait back a little bit. You know, we didn't want to jump to any conclusions. We wanted to see how this was going to play out, and we wanted to see and we wanted to analyze everybody's behavior and see how they reacted. So we're in a very good position right now. As far as information, that's all I mean. I don't mean to sound unsympathetic, and I hope you don't think I am. If you know me by now, you know I got a heart. But that will get you in trouble. Okay. What I meant was like, there's a time to have emotions and there's a time not to. Okay. Your emotions, like caring, like whether we're sympathetic or whether we care, it can hurt you. It can benefit you. Okay. It'll hurt you because people will manipulate you. Okay, they'll take advantage of your ability to care. Okay, remember that. Cui bono, who benefits? Well, win, lose, or draw, mainstream media is going to benefit. There's a lot of people benefiting out of this. Okay, the only people hurting are the people on the ground, and that's where I come from. Okay, you want to know what crews I roll with? I keep it real simple. God and 1776. It's as simple as that. It doesn't get no more complicated. I don't get deep into like what religious sect I belong to. Are you Catholic? Are you Protestant? Are you this? Are you that? How good of a how much you know the scriptures and all that. No. Okay. Politics. Are you Republican? Are you Independent? Are you this? Are you that? Are you for Russia? For Ukraine? What? Blah blah blah. No, keep it simple. Okay, the crews I roll with is God in 1776. I don't really make it more complicated than that. I'm not perfect, obviously, but remember, cui bono, who benefits? There's some people benefiting, be it indirect, be it indirect. Maybe it's just an unintended side effect. But mainstream media always benefits from conflict. They get high ratings. So remember that when they play a lot of the footage, right? The death scenes and the bodies, right? That's television. And if you don't know that by now, I don't know what to tell you. If you're going to be if you're going to be with my my channel, we're going to drill that into you. Okay? That's what happened to COVID. Remember COVID? Remember how they were playing the emotion factor? Now, it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It just means, as researchers and analysts and how we want to look at this, we want to try to leave that. We don't want to bring that with our outlook. Okay. I guess that's about it for today. Thank you for joining me. I look forward to seeing you next weekend. Look for this to come out every Saturday. We pray and hope that this conflict gets minimized. We really do. Okay, I guess that's about it. Okay, guys, everybody. stay safe. Have a great week, and I'll see you next time. Bye.